A couple years ago, I spoke about an album by a band that was my first experience listening to, and it was one that definitely took me by surprise, and I actually really enjoyed. That album was Warp Riders by The Sword, and now their follow-up, APOCRYPHON, is something that I need to speak about, of course, today. Of course, APOCRYPHON is very difficult to say. It's probably even weirder whenever you dig into what it actually is. Now, unlike Warp Riders, this is an album where The Sword decided to try something a little bit different. Instead of having a large and complex story that surrounds the album in a conceptual fashion, decided to let each song really speak for itself, to really have this be an individual showcase of each song's strengths and weaknesses, as opposed to it being overall a part of a grander scheme of things, which is an interesting choice, but that was the way which they had written, so stated the band. So this is another interesting experience and another interesting development that The Sword is able to give us on this record. But is the record actually worth the wait? Well, yes and no. This is a great record. I really do enjoy it. It's full of some really good riffs. It has the chugging elements of stoner rock and stoner metal that you really enjoy, that spacey feel that The Sword have always been able to deliver ever since their very first album, and it's something where the band has continued to kind of expand their far-out universe even further with this record, but there are some elements that kind of fall a little bit short as opposed to with Warp Riders. What really had impressed me about Warp Riders, what really had kind of taken me aback and kind of had me very focused on the record, was the fact that they were able to blend quick and almost more aggressive style songwriting with with tracks where they were able to kind of slow things down a little bit and kind of just take their times and just really make really anthemic sounding stoner rock, which is something that you rarely hear. But it's because of that element of space rock that they're able to really captivate you and kind of transcend the traditional tags that are perhaps associated with music that sounds this way. The space rock element is more in their theme as opposed to necessarily with sound effects or Hawkwind-like tendencies, if you really want to go that far. But with this album, I feel that there is a little bit of lacking there. I feel that the individuality of the tracks, while it is a good idea and while it is a strong conceptual point to really try to make each one of your songs stand out and have each one of them have strengths and weaknesses, I feel that perhaps The Sword writes a little bit better whenever there's a centralized concept behind it. Albeit it's probably a little bit more frustrating to try to make everything unite and kind of flow. This is something where that continuity is severely missed on this record. That flow of, from track to track, that the story, you trying to follow the story is severely missed on this record 100%. And it's kind of one of the reasons why I probably will return more to an album such as Warp Riders as opposed to this one. Now, that's not to say that this album is necessarily a disappointment or B, a bad album. It certainly does have fantastic elements to it here and there. But that's the thing. It's a little bit more of an inconsistent record. It does have a lot of the great melody. It has good structure. The songwriting and the songcraft is certainly present there. It's not something where that Sword has gone so far and deep in the left or right field here that it is almost unrecognizable. No, in fact, this is very recognizable as a Sword album. It definitely suits them. It fits into their discography. It's just the fact that something is missing. There's a punch missing. There is that flow, that continuity. There is there's the varietal element of having the quicker elements, the quicker moments, and then those slowed down, just anthemic songs that I spoke about earlier. That is something that made Warp Riders such a tremendous album. It's something that Age of Winter's had. It's just something about this album, while it is very solid, something is just a little lacking. And that's not necessarily a terrible thing. This may definitely get them a couple new fans, and then they'll be able to explore the back catalog. But for somebody who was waiting for this album and was very excited for it, I feel as though I got my expectations if they had been a little bit lesser. I think my expectations for this album were perhaps a little bit too high. I think what I was anticipating that this record was going to deliver was a little bit perhaps too lofty. And for that reason, I kind of had to adjust that for what this record actually was trying to do. And what beheld me was a record that was trying to stand out on its own. And that is certainly accomplished on this record. So overall, I'd have to say that from good times and bad, sickness and health, this album is a solid 8. It's definitely one where the Sword fans will be pleased with the result, although they may also think that there is something lacking, but most probably will not. Most will probably just enjoy the fact that this is a new album's worth of material, and it still sounds like the Sword. It's not like they went Saint Anger on us or anything like that. They didn't go AWOL. It's still the Sword. However, for those who are perhaps inexperienced in the Sword, they may enjoy this a little bit more, or they may not get it. Overall, I think this album is a strong, bold statement. However, if I were to recommend one thing for the Sword in the future, which is totally not in my place, but I tend to do it anyway, it's maybe to seep in a little bit of a story. If you don't want to go for it for a full album, do a 3 or 4 parter or something like that. Do something unique. And this album, it is unique in your discography, considering they're all trying to stand on their own. But I guess I'm thirsting for the story element. I guess it's what I really enjoyed about your previous works. But, like I said, it's all on you. You guys are the artists, you delivered another solid album, and I'm merely nitpicking because I guess that's my job, or just because I want to. I don't know. But anyways, guys, definitely consider picking up this album. I give it a strong recommendation, and I think that you guys will enjoy a lot of the elements to it. If you guys dug the Witchcraft album that I reviewed about a month ago, then The Sword should be right up your alley. Check it.